absolutely love the patina of this galvanized bucket. I can't pass these up when I see them at sale, so especially at the $5 price tag, I am happy to share with you how to make this over for the holiday season. Now I'm going to use my wonderful contraption that Tracy sent me to help stabilize your round objects and prevent them from rolling. It actually even works on these bigger pails. Now, other than washing this off and making sure that the area is dry, I don't want to scrub on it too much because I love that aged patina. I'm just going to go to my Cricut to make a stencil. So I'm just going to type out holiday greens. I'm going to type it out first, and then I'm going to play with the fonts to see which one is big and bold that you'll be able to see. And then I've already measured off my space to know how big and how wide I can make my grouping of words. So not only I'm going to do holiday green, and then I have a space that I want to fill. I want to make sure that it doesn't elongate my letters and make them look wonky. But I also want to add a price. I want to add 25 cents. So a lot of times you can search this in the images. At first I was just going to search cents, but then I realized I could get the 2.5 with it, so I'm just going to go ahead and find something in my images. And using my contour feature, I'm going to go ahead and hide what I do not. I just wanted to type out the 2 and the 5 and the cent side. That I have that 25 cent, I want to anyway, make my holiday greens a little bit bolder, just like what the 25 cents is. And all I did was cut it out on some permanent vinyl so I could use that as a stencil. I already weeded it. I wanted to fit it in that space underneath the little rivets so that it doesn't go wonky on me. So I'm just using a piece of clear, a clear contact paper, because sometimes I forget my transfer tape in my craft room, and I always have this in our shop. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that to transfer my stencil onto my pail. Now that I have that all done, I'm going to go ahead and paint my stencil. I'm going to be using some of the Color Fusion green color, just a little bit of dab will do you. I just ordered a little sample size because I don't use a lot of color here on the channel. But I wanted to make this pop by using the green. So I'm just using a makeup sponge from the Dollar Tree store to apply it in that dabbing where you don't have a lot on your makeup sponge. And then I'm going to go ahead and dry it in between doing the first to the second coat, just to make sure that I have it as dark as I need it to be so you can see it before removing that stencil. Hi guys, welcome to the channel. This is Yvonne from Ginger Chick Rehab. Oh, I so hope that you are ready for some winter crafts. Yes, they can be out for Christmas, but there's still a little bit that you can keep them out past the Christmas season here in Michigan. If we don't get snow that looks all pretty, it just looks dreary. So it's just nice to have something to spruce up your areas, to make it just be a little bit more lively. And if you're like me and you keep your Christmas up to like February, just so you don't have to take it all down and make you sad and your house looks so empty afterwards. So I hope that I am going to inspire you to look at some secondhand finds in a new way in today's video. Okay, so these are not necessarily secondhand finds, but we just had a windstorm and I have a lot of these laying around in my yard right now. And I saw somebody on TikTok say that this is her most viewed TikTok using sticks. Actually, it was very easy to find them. I just had to go out our back door. But I need to make them similar sizes, so I'm just going to take some of my nips and then just cut them down. I'm actually just going to be using 5 of the sticks. I grabbed an extra one just in case. You never know if they're dry, if they're going to break when you're snipping them. So yes, we're just going to make a simple star. And then after I got them in place, kind of had my visual of how I wanted to have them lay, because there's a little bit of bend here and there to those sticks. They aren't completely straight, just a little dab of hot glue onto the corners to here, and I'm just going to hold them until that hot glue dries a little bit to set up. And for some reinforcements, I'm going to go ahead and take some of this black jute twine and wrap it around, kind of wrap it around and then do like a weaving in and out to make sure that the two pieces will not come apart. After I get it nice and secure, I just go ahead and knot it off. And then I'm going to take a little bit of hot glue after I cut it to make sure that you don't see that frayed end. And then we'll repeat that process on the rest of the corners. Actually, anywhere that the branches can be glued together, I went ahead and did that too. So for my next project, we got this random piece of wood stake in an auction haul, and it probably had a birdhouse, I'm thinking, on the top of it, and that you could drive the stake into the ground, but it didn't. We didn't have the birdhouse. We just had the piece of wood. So, but I do have pieces of a pallet wood that are just, they're not the patina I am looking for. So I'm happy to use them for this next project because I'm actually going to make a standing sign. First, I need to deal with, as you see, this piece is rotating. So it's screwed in, but there's no wood-to-wood glue to make it stay in place. It just keeps kind of spinning around. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some Titebond on there, screw it back down as tight as I can, and let the glue do what the glue does and glue two things together. Now I need to go ahead and cut my pallet wood down. That's not quite the size that I want it to be, so I'm kind of just measuring off where my halfway point is because I want to get rid of the green on this. You know, of course, if you're a regular here on the channel, you knew that was probably going to be painted. So I'm just taking some Rust-Oleum paint primer, the spray paint, just to cover it up, and then after it dries, I will seal this in with some polycrylic to have a good top coat on there. That is dry, and I'm going to go ahead and get these boards cut in half. Next up, I'm going to paint each one of the individual slats of the boards a different color. So I'm starting off with a red, which is Barn Red by Dixie Belle, and then the green is the same green that I used earlier on the holiday green. I go to black paint of the ready-to-use Onyx from Walmart, along with my Kills paint primered one, and then the flat white. So now I went to my Cricut and I just came up with some simple winter things just to put on these slats. So it was nice to have the different colors, and then I went to the Cricut into the images to find an arrow. I really did want you to be able to keep this out longer than just for the Christmas season. Wanted a font that was easy to read, that when I make a stencil you can see it clearly, and then along with the arrow. Now when it came to the arrow, I had to do a 180 turn on it to get it to go into the other direction. Now that I have my general of how I know that I want them to look, now I'm going to go in on each individual. I know what size my board is. I want it to fill up a good proportion of my board, but I'm going to start off with, of course, the longest one first. I know how wide and how high I can make these. Now that I dealt with my longest stencil that I need to make, I also need to make sure that they are size appropriate to each individual one. That's just a personal preference. So what I'm doing here is I'm matching up my ease because I can't elongate it to fit the whole thing, but I want them to look pleasing to the eye. So every single one of my words has the letter E in it, so I'm just going to keep sizing it until my E's, stretching it until my E's are the same size. But before I attach my stencils, the palette wood is really raw and rough, and I know it's not going to attach completely well anyway onto this type of wood, but I'm going to go ahead and distress the paint. I'm going to sand a little bit smoother on this palette wood also, just using some 220 sandpaper. I don't want to take all my paint off. Now I just need to weed out my letters and cut each one of my strips and then transfer these onto the boards. Remember, I did say that I knew that my permanent vinyl wasn't going to stick very well on this palette wood that's all uneven, so as I was working on the vinyl and transferring it, I would just stick a piece of masking tape. For some reason, the masking tape sticks better. Maybe I should have cut the stencils out on masking tape. But I'm just going to go ahead and use some of that Kills paint and primer for the stencil color. For the whiteboard, I'm going to switch over to my black onyx ready to use paint. I'm trying to stay away from using a chalk paint because I do want these to be able to be used outdoors, even though you can seal it in with some type of a top coat. And I don't want to look like I just put new letters on my aged board, so I'm just ever so slightly running that 220 sandpaper with a very light hand. You don't want to press down, you don't want to get rid of your paint. And then now that my stake is dry, I'm going to go ahead and distress this piece also. Now it's time to add my verbiage onto my sign, my stake. So yep, I'm just kind of playing with it, seeing which way I want each one to go, the colors, the coordinating colors, the arrows. I like it to be like one or two of them to kind of be tipped off center, like it's been run into, or that it's just been aged. Then I'm just going to use my brad nailer to brad nail them on, and I'm going to make sure that I put plenty on there to stay. So here we are with some more secondhand finds. So yes, I ran across some of these vintage skates and this random piece of wood that came in some auction lot. But, you know, I love the patina of it all, and all these skates are just beautiful. So I'm trying to figure out which one of the three pairs I think will look beautiful on this rounded top random piece of wood. And I'm really going for these wooden ones. And I do want to add a little bit of a sign. So I love the patina of this wood. It's a little worse for wear, but I just can't see getting rid of it. So I'm sure that I can save this piece of wood. But the only thing is the coordinating colors of this board. I need to do a little bit something to it. It is quite dirty. I probably will just brush it off because sometimes when you start to clean them, you ruin that beautiful patina that it is. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and give this a little bit of a dust cleaning, and then I'm actually going to take some white paint and whitewash it just so those skates don't blend in. Now that I got all the paint on there, I'm going to make sure it's good and dry because I'm actually going to run the sander over it. It actually took, I couldn't get it to take, and then it took really too well because it wasn't really a flat board. There wasn't a lot of texture for the dry brushing to hit. So I'm just going to take the sander over it and give it that lighter look than I was going for. But I did go ahead with a heavier paintbrush along the sides to kind of give it a frame. Now you can see why that I did that. Now those skates pop a little bit more. So now I'm just trying to mark off where I need to cut my board down. Now that I have my board cut down, I really, you can see that big crack. So I need to deal with that. But that's an easy fix when you have a stash. Yep, how about a rusty, crusty hinge to tie it all together? So I'm just going to put some screws in place. I tried to find some that weren't going to pop. I don't want to put shiny new screws in. So yes, on both sides of it, that'll just mend that so it just looks like this is the way we meant it to be. Now there again, I went to my Cricut. I just typed out the words winter greetings so you can leave it out a little bit longer. And then I wanted to make sure my font was bold enough so when I make a stencil, you're able to see the lettering. And then I'm just going to stick with a plain black stencil. Just transferred it on, offset it a little bit so I'm not on top of my hinge, but that same makeup sponge technique where you just have a little bit of paint on to dab it. You don't want to have so much on that you squish it underneath your stencil. The permanent vinyl doesn't really stick to this palette wood awful well, but it works for a stencil. It's time to put this all together. Now there was a piece of string, I don't know if it was original or not, but I need to cut it out because there's only one on one side and I don't have anything to match. And then I also need to poke through, it looks like some dirt buildup and mud buildup has actually been inside of the holes. They're secondhand items. But I am thankful that they have holes so that will give me something to wrap some jute around to be able to attach these two. And I love that labeling on the curved part of the bottom of these shoes. So I'm just going to put that jute inside and then kind of stagger it and then staple the jute down to the board. But now I need to change out my brad nails from the previous project that I needed longer nails, and now I need to have shorter nails so that they're not going to go all the way through. Big difference, isn't it? And I do want to add a little bit of greenery just to make it pop a little bit. So this is just a stem. I'm just kind of bending the wire around, and I'm actually going to go ahead and staple this on in case somebody wants to use this outside. I'm loving on it, but I still want to add a little bit more just because the top of that stem I can see that wire. So I'm just going to wrap some of this homespun fabric around that top to hide that. Just a simple little knot. I can still see the top of that, so I'm going to take one of my rusty crusty stars and just glue it on there to hide it completely. Then I'm also going to take a little bit of that black onyx paint and just run it across those bright, shiny staples. To finish this project up, I'm just adding some black wire to the outside so that it can easily be hung, and I'm just going to staple it to the sides. Then when you're doing a hanging system like this, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and staple, have some of that that's hanging below it actually fold it over the other back up, and then restaple it again. That just gives you a little extra security that the wire's not just going to pull out. So thank you for watching today's video, and have I inspired you with those pieces and parts that I didn't even know? I didn't even know. We're going to create something beautiful. Yes, you just run across things and you hoard on them, you stash them, and then you put them together. Once that inspiration hits, just, yes, I had this random piece of wood, this other pieces of wood, this other pieces of wood, some old skates, some, yeah, just creating something out of nothing is just, oh, so I hope that I have inspired you to don't look past those pieces and parts in the wood aisle that you're like, I don't even know what that goes to. Create something out of it. So thanks again for watching, guys. And as always, if you're part of our YouTube family, thank you so much. And if you are new and you're checking out this channel for the first time and you loved these DIYs, give me a quick comment down below, along with hitting that subscription button and hitting the notification bell so you know we've uploaded a new video. And we will see you next time, guys, and you can see what we're up to. Bye!